Hello friends, it's Sharon from Mad Paper Crush here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to show you this adorable little journal that we are going to make entirely from, well, almost entirely from recycled things. So get ready to start the scavenger hunt in your house to look for things that you probably have lying around that you can use to make your own journal, something like this. So I'm so excited to get started. Let's take a look inside real quick. I have a little snap closure here on this journal, and you can see I have the flap that comes open. It's about 2 signatures with lots of recycled papers from books and different things that I will be talking about when we get to it. And even little envelopes there. You can see that little envelope here that has little pockets on the side and little tuck spots and different things all over the place. So, and even some beads down at the bottom. So let's go ahead and get started on this recycled journal. All right, well, let's get started. I've been rummaging around my house and I've come up with some things that I think I'm going to use. This probably isn't all of it. I will probably, use some different things depending on where this goes. So these are just my ideas on different things that I can use. So let me just kind of talk about them to give you some ideas of how you can recycle things that you have already in your house to make a journal. So first is old clothing. So this is an old outfit, and this material is kind of fun. Like, it has some stitching in there. It has like some puckering, I like the color. So I just went and looked through clothes that I don't wear anymore, clothes maybe that were ready, to either be pitched or head to the thrift store or something like that. I pulled that out. And then I also had this old tablecloth, and I thought this matched pretty well. So I thought this would be fun to maybe do, the cover, or maybe some inside little bits of fabric and different things like that. So I pulled that out. Let me just see all my stuff here so I can kind of go through everything. And then I also pulled out this piece of, this is actually like packing paper. When I had purchased something like, I think it was at sort of a department store. So it was probably something, breakable, glass or ceramic or whatever, that had kind of been folded up, in here. So you can see it's wrinkled, it's been used. But I also, just kind of liked the coloring. It has just sort of a plain design, but I thought that would make some fun pages in here. Junk mail, so return envelopes and bill envelopes I think will be fun to put in here. We'll think of some interesting ways to use them. These are like flyers that either come in junk mail or sometimes just come by themselves. Maybe some old packaging. This is an old tissue box, but I kind of liked the design of that. But these flyers and things that are decently heavy make great tags or pockets, or different things inside of your journal. And then I also grabbed a bunch of greeting cards. So greeting cards often have great images on them, and these are used cards. So they have things inside them. They have things written inside them that I'll have to, go over. But I thought they were a great idea for grabbing some different graphics and things like that. And you might have some birthday cards or, shower cards, wedding cards. I don't know. You might have some of these around that you don't, feel like just keeping hidden away in a box or something. So obviously, if you want to keep the writing on the inside, you can definitely do that. These actually came from a friend of mine who didn't want them anymore. So I don't have any sentimental feelings towards the writing, and so I don't have a problem, using them. But even, birthday cards and things like that don't have a lot of writing in them, that just have a name in them or something like that, I think would be perfect things to use for your pictures, maybe even, signature pages, the covers, different things like that. I also just grabbed a couple of old napkins. So I think these would be fun to maybe decoupage or something like that on there. And I also have this old bag of tortilla chips that I think would be fun to use for my journal cover. So it's, kind of heavy and thick, but I think it would be great covered with some of this fabric maybe to use for my cover, because it's nice and durable, and I think this would be, you know, a good start. So like I said, I'll probably be using some other things that I, you know, go and gather up, but I thought this was a really good start. So let's go ahead and see if we can get started on this thing. All right, so let's do the cover first. So I think what I want to do is I want to just kind of make it a small-ish journal here. I think this is a perfect kind of size. So I'm not sure that I'm going to even keep this part on. I mean, I could, you know, straighten it out and make this kind of a flap here if I wanted to. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. So I'm just going to think about that, but let's look at the size of this bag here. So it is approximately 5 inches if I fold it here, by our width is about 7 inches. So a 5x7 journal. Actually, I think that sounds pretty perfect actually. So I think I'm gonna keep this flap on. I think that might be a fun addition there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just gonna mark where my 5 inches is. So let's see. Let's do this first, just so I think that keeping it at about 5x7 would be good. So I know that that it has to fold over there, and I could even give myself, you know, maybe a quarter or a half of an inch kind of as my spine. So I'll just kind of make a couple of guesstimate marks on here. I don't need it to be perfect, but I just kind of want to make sure that if I fold these at these lines, so first let me do the 5-inch one. So that's the front, but then I could also do just another little fold there at my about 1/2 inch, just to see if I can have just a little bit of a spine there for whatever pages we put in, and then we'll have a nice little fold over. And now I need to square this up because this was just torn off. Okay, and I think that once I have this folded over with an approximate spine, I'm just going to mark it here, because then I probably won't want to do a similar approximate spine here. So I have some room for whatever, you know, goes inside here. So, and I could fold this on this line as well. Let's see if I can get close. These lines aren't going to really stay, but I just kind of want to approximate it so that when I cover it with my fabric, we're good to go. Okay, so yeah, that looks a little bit better there. Okay, so I think we have the cover sort of ready to go. And then all I'm going to do, at least for the start, is I'm going to take I think I'm going to use my tablecloth as kind of my base fabric, because this, I think, will cover this crazy pattern a little bit better than the other one will. So if I'm just checking that, you can see a little bit through that. Look at that. I may want to put something else down on there to cover that up just a little bit. So let me go see what I can find. Okay, this is the part that I was just looking at. Is going to be mostly in the back, but I still think I just want to be sure some of this is covered up. So I went and grabbed an old wine bag, grocery bag, bread bag, you know, whatever you have around. It's nice and thin, but it will help cover up, you know, what I've got going on here. So all I'm going to do is I was going to try and see, oh, there's a seam in the back. Let's see if this will tear apart. Actually, this might be another thing that I could use for inside signatures. That's giving me an idea as we go. So you can either cut it apart or tear it apart. Here, I'm just gonna cut a piece here to see if I can, this will cover up that good. I'm not gonna be exact because I know this will be covered by my fabric. So, and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my glue stick here. And since it'll be covered by the fabric, I don't need to worry about, it being to the edges and things, although I am gonna kind of try a little bit to make sure it's covered up here. Now, obviously, if you started with a bag that didn't have so much pattern on it, you wouldn't, have to do this kind of thing. But just because I want to be sure we're good and covered, I am going to just work on covering some of this up. So let's see. And the inside I'm probably going to cover with paper or something that's a little bit more opaque than this fabric. So I'm not going to worry so much about the inside right now. I am just going to, kind of make sure the outside is good and covered. Okay, I went and tore a piece of fabric out of that tablecloth that was a little bit bigger, you can see around the edges, than my cover piece. So this is going to be my front of the cover. So you just need to decide, which way you want this to go. If there's a right side up or an upside down to that, which I don't think there really is to this. So, you just need to pick a side, whichever way you want. And then all I'm going to do is flip it over both pieces together, and I'm going to start clipping this a little bit. So normally I think I'm still going to miter the edges a little bit, but I'm going to end up tucking them in to go around, just because I think that's going to work easier for me. But to take a little bit of the bulk out, and actually before I even do that, I'm just going to add a little glue to the whole front side to hold it in place a little bit. So I'm just going to add just a little bit here to hold it where I want it to stay. All right, so let's see, I might move this up a little bit here. And then I'm not taking off too much. I'm just gonna kind of, just because I want some of that bulk out when I start folding these over. Let's see. This one I think I need to cut down a little, and actually I might tear that off, but this might be a good piece to put on the inside there, so we'll hang on to that. I don't know if I'll use those, but okay. So oh, and then I gotta just take a little bit off of here. I'm not getting close, very close to the edge here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna fold up a side, and I'm gonna take my little, I have these little sewing clips here. You could use paper clips or like bulldog clips or something if you don't have those. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of fold this corner in a way that makes it lay nice and flat and not stick out. So, and I'm gonna make sure I clip that down real good so it's held in place. So I'm just going to continue around like that until it's all together and pulled tight all the way around the whole thing. Okay, the cover's all pinned up and ready to go. And all I'm gonna do is on the right side, I'm going to stitch around the whole outside there, just a little zigzag stitch to hold everything in place. So I'm gonna keep as many of these clips on as I can as I go around to keep everything nice and flat. And then we'll come back and see how that looks. All right. I dug into the greeting cards and I found this flower on one that I just kind of fussy cut out, and I thought it would be fun to put it on the cover, but as I was thinking about our flap, I don't want it to cover it up. So I think I'm going to add it kind of to the flap itself to make the cover for this. Now, obviously I can't just put this on here because it's way too flimsy, you know, to hold. So I think I'm going to go back and grab my piece of wine bag or bread bag that we had used before, and I'm going to use that with some junk mail to create a little card. So this will give it some sturdiness. I don't know, let me see. Okay, I might need to, I'm not sure if I'm going to need to double this up or not, but we'll give it a try, and if it doesn't work, then I will go back. I have a lot of junk mail. I can always redo it if it doesn't work out. So I'm just going to kind of mark where I need to cut this. I'm going to grab my cutter to cut this down to size. Okay, and then I'm just going to cover it with my wine bag. So I think this will be a good cover for this. I'm just gonna cut this off to make it a little more even. And try and do it this way so I can see what I'm doing here. So, and I have more of these bags too, so I think these are actually gonna come in pretty handy for covering things up. So let me, this time I'm gonna grab my glitter glue for this. And I'll probably sew this as well, so I'm just gonna keep the glitter glue kind of in the middle. Of this paper. And because it's paper, I will, whoops, kind of miter these edges a little more how I normally would with paper. Okay, the front is all covered, and I need to finish covering the back. So you could either put just another, you know, piece of paper bag here to kind of cover this part up. I was thinking it might be fun to put a little bit of a book page on here. So I'm just going to kind of, and I thought it would be fun to tear it. So I'm just going to kind of mark here, whoops, maybe 1/4 of an inch in or so from the top or from the each side there. And then let me just kind of see, I'm going to do the same thing so I kind of know where I'm tearing here. And actually after I do this, I might need to mark again, but I just kind of want to, oops, this doesn't look like it's going to go straight. And then I'll tear this one first. And hopefully I can, whoops, keep this one a little bit straight. Close to it. Okay, now I can mark this again so that I know where to tear on the sides. And I think for this, just to make sure I don't end up wrecking it, I'm just going to use my ruler here. And just kind of tear these a little. Oops. And we'll see how that turns out on here. Yes, I like it. And now before I put that part together, I am gonna grab my distress ink, oops, to add a little bit of age to this book page. And I'm just gonna glue this down after I fix my glue. Okay, I have that glued down now. And I thought just for fun, I would add just a little bit of text, handwritten script, whatever this is called, to the background, just to give it a little something extra. This is certainly not needed, but I just thought it would be fun and add a little bit to my recycled pieces here. So let's just do a little one over there, a little one there. Okay, I think that's good, because then this is going to go right there. And before I do that, I am also going to distress this piece. All right, I let this dry, and I love the way it looks. I think it's so much fun. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hold this in place where I think I want it to go on my flap here. And I went and grabbed my little clips again, and I'm just going to try to clip this in place. Maybe. I'm trying to make it so that it's, you know, fairly straight up and down, plus even on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew around the whole card. So when I do that, I mean, it's going to be opened up here. So I'm going to be sewing it to the cover right here. And then I'm just going to finish that around the entire thing. So I'm going to do a zigzag stitch all the way around this whole card, and that will attach it to our front cover right where we want it. Okay, I have it sewn on, and this is how it turned out. And when you fold up our journal, we have a nice big flap now, but I love the way that that turned out. So this is going to be our cover, and I'm going to start doing some of the insides not on the cover. So I'm going to start working on the signatures to get that going, and then we'll come in and finish the cover. So sometimes I like to leave the inside go until I'm ready to kind of finish things up, so I kind of know where I want things. I am probably going to put down on our two little spines here. So our signatures is going to be going into here. I'm probably going to put some fabric here to cover up, you know, this the bag here, and then the same thing over here. I'll probably put some fabric here, and then we'll end with some papers in and throughout. So I'm going to wait a little bit to do that, just so till I get a feel of how the inside signature is going to go, and then we'll come back to the cover here. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. And I'm going to grab my greeting cards as a starting point. So I know I want to use a couple of these. I think it would be fun to use a couple of these as our part of our inside signature. So I pulled out a couple that I thought might work that didn't have any words on the front. They do have some writing and some words on the inside, but we're going to take care of those. And then we're going to go from there. So I think those are the only two that don't have any words on the front. So I'm going to start with these as my signature. And then I'm also going to grab this piece of paper that has some decoration on it, because I think this will make a great couple of pages on the inside. And then I'm probably also going to grab an old notebook or a writing pad and see if we can do something with that too, because I have a lot of that stuff laying around that can be recycled as well. Okay, let's get this signature going. So I know that my book is going to need pages that are about 7 inches tall and about 5 inches wide, or 10 inches wide before it's folded. Now I did these two cards that I picked out. I just kind of tried to cover up some of the lettering because I just, you know, didn't think it was fair to have us be reading all that stuff. So I am going to cover this up even more though. So what I wanted to do, so like this one, I love the fact that it has just all these flowers on there, and it has this on the inside. So you could, you know, there's some room there to write if you wanted to write. And then because this has some writing on there, I think I will just trim that off. But oops, I'll probably keep this you know, little picture. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with it yet, but I'm going to keep that so that we can maybe use it for decorating our pages or something like that. Now, the other thing is this card is bigger than 5 by 7, so we are going to have to cut it down. So I'm going to try to decide how to do that in the best way. So let's see, how wide? Let's see, I know it can be only 5, so I do have to take some off of here, which is fine. So I'm going to probably just do, since this is already folded, I'm going to cut it down to a little bit less than 5 so it doesn't stick out too much. Okay, so I have those there. And then I need to get this down to 7. So this is, looks like it's about 7 3/4. So I'm just going to take a little bit off the top because I do like kind of the pink at the top here. And then I'll cut the rest off the bottom, I think, to make this work. And once again, I'm going to do it a little bit less than 7 so it doesn't stick out the top. So now we should have a page that fits in our cover. And I like, you know, using greeting cards as well because they are nice and sturdy. So they're going to make a nice little signature in there. So I like that a lot. All right, so there's one that we can use. And then the same with this one. And this one actually, I think, is already the right size. So it's already a little less than 5, and it looks like it might be just about 7, but I think that'll be okay here. So if I put it in there, yeah, I think we're fine. I think we're fine with that one. So those are 2 of the pages that we're going to put in there. And then before I move on from them, I wanted to show you what I was planning to do for the inside. So I wanted to use either, I found this was packaging paper that was in an order that I had made, and I thought this might make a good cover too. So I did grab another one of my little bread bags there that I thought I could use, but I wanted to see maybe if this pretty much covers up the, you know, the lettering or anything that's underneath. I think this would be a perfect thing to use. Now, this one has this pretty little flower right in there, and I thought somehow we might be able to use that, but I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that yet. But so let me just go, and I'm going to cover one of these first, and I'm going to try to make it go, you know, just about to the ends. I'm going to give myself like 1/8 of an inch, and hopefully I have that kind of a border around here. And I'm going to use my ruler, which I don't know where it is, so I guess I'll use this one. Who knows what happens, you know, when you start doing something, you lose track of just about everything you're working with. Okay, so where did I put that mark? See if I can make this relatively even here. Hopefully I am going straight. All right, so I need to go up to about here. I'm not using my paper cutter for this because it is, this paper is kind of light, and I'm afraid that if I use my paper cutter, it will tear it. So. And I can cut another one. I was thinking for this one, what might be fun is to try to mark that flower and then maybe just make a little tear in the paper so that the flower shows through. I think that might be fun. And maybe I'll do it with this one so that we can go ahead and do it. So let me see if I can, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see if I can hold this up to the light. Oh, yeah, that's not working at all. Maybe what I need to do is use another piece of paper to kind of mark it. I think I have some copy paper that I can use. Okay, so I cut down this little piece of copy paper to the same size. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it over my side here so that I can see it. And then I'm just going to use my pencil here to just give me a rough outline of where my flower is, so I kind of know where to tear, because once again, you know, I kind of covered up the writing there, and I obviously don't want that to show either. So we'll see how this works. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm just gonna make a little mark here so that I can actually, I think what I'll do is I'm gonna cut this out on here. Just very roughly so that I can see where I want to tear on my paper, like that. So I know this is kind of where my flower is, and then I'm just gonna kind of make a little mark here, and I think I'm gonna hold these together. Grab my handy dandy clips here. Oops. Hold these together so that it doesn't move around. And then I'm just going to very gently tear inside of this circle. Yes. So now I'm just going to keep tearing little bits at a time, making sure I don't go too far. So let's see if I put this right here. Like I kind of want to tear a little bit up here and maybe a little bit up here. Okay, so now I'm just going to keep tearing and testing until I feel like I've gotten the whole, you know, as big as I need it to get as much of that flower showing. Okay, I think that's perfectly how I want it. So I am going to add a little bit of Distress ink to this whole page and to the corners. And then I'm also going to use another piece of this on this side here. And then, just so you don't have to watch me do all of this stuff, for this one, I'm going to actually leave this one blank. I may just put some distress around the edges, and I'm going to fully cover this one just like we had done this one over here. Okay, so to kind of show you where we're at now, I did cover the insides, and you can see I added some distress, and I did notice that my glue is showing through a little bit here, so I need to make a note of that for anything else I do with this thin paper. I think that's the problem. And then this one, same thing. You can kind of see the glue here. I don't know if I'll try to cover that up with something. Maybe we could maybe put some fabric in there or something like that. But I actually used my glue stick for this one, and it looks much better. So if I use this going forward, I'm going to have to use the glue stick, I think. So, but I do like the way this is coming through now. I think that's pretty cool. And now we have to cover the backs, because obviously our greeting cards have things on the backs that we may not, you know, want there. So for this one, I went ahead and tore a book page, kind of like we did for our cover, to kind of have, you know, some symmetry throughout here. But I realized I missed a little piece down here. So I think we can cover that up with something. And then also on this one, I thought this might be another place to kind of leave it blank for being able to write on it. So instead of completely covering this one up, I thought I would go back to some of my greeting cards here and maybe find just something small. Actually, well, this is kind of glittery, so I'm not sure I want that. But well, maybe, I don't know here. So I'm just kind of looking around to see what I might have And actually one of these might be good. So I pulled this out and I thought it might be fun. I'm gonna take my 2-inch hole punch here and I'm gonna go ahead, maybe, oh, I didn't realize what was on the back too, but this is a lot more space. I may keep this like it is in case we wanna use this maybe to add a pocket or something like that. So I think I'm just going to, right in this corner here, I'm gonna grab as much of that as I can to kind of get those little flowers in there. And then I'll have a perfect little cover up for that. And then I can maybe add some fabric to this bottom piece here, maybe just sew that on right there to kind of cover that up. So I do kind of like the way that looks. And maybe what I'll do for this one too is add some distress around the edges of everything here to kind of bring it all together. Glue shouldn't show through on this one because it's nice big cardstock there. Okay, so we'll put that right there and cover up that. And then I'm just gonna run this over to the sewing machine real quick and just sew this piece on and it'll kind of stick out the bottom, which I think is kind of fun too. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, I went ahead and cut out my picture from there and I thought I would use it here, but it looked kind of plain to me just like that. So I'm gonna go back to the fabric here and I thought I would just add a little strip of fabric right underneath it. Not covering the whole thing, but just adding a little bit of something to it there, kind of like this. And maybe even, since my fabric is covering the words nicely that I wanted to down here, maybe I could even move this over a little to show more of the fabric underneath there. So I do kind of like that. Let me just look at it this way to make sure I don't maybe like it better. Actually, I do like it better that way. Yes, I think I do. So what I was thinking about doing was I was going to try to round the corners on this little guy, just for some fun. And then of course we'll add our distress around too. And these I'm just gonna glue right down onto here. So I'm gonna first just add some glue to the back of this. Make sure my words are covered up. And then we'll glue this down as well. Since this is just a book page, you know, I just want to add a little bit of decoration onto here. There we go. I think that looks great. Okay, our 2 pages are started for the signature there. And I think I'm going to pull out that wrapping paper and cut some of that next to put in here. And then I also had just some copy paper and some envelopes that I spritzed up with some coffee, ground coffee and water. So I coffee dyed them basically, and I'm going to use those in here as well. So I'm going to go grab those too.